Super Bowl 54 is upon us. Let's discuss what we hope will be the grand finale in the NFL's 100th season. Alright guys, we have the Chiefs and the 49ers going against each other in the Super Bowl. I actually got that prediction right. I predicted that the Chiefs and the Niners would get to the Super Bowl, and they did. I got most of the playoff games wrong, but hey, I got the Super Bowl matchup right. Alright, so it's a 6:30 kickoff in Miami. 11th time Miami is hosting the Super Bowl, the most out of any city. Now, as of right now, the Chiefs are a 1.5 favorite, and the over-under is 54.5. And for those of you that don't know, that's just how many points they think are going to be scored in the game. So they're saying 54.5. You can either bet under or over that. And the halftime performance is going to be Shakira and Jennifer Lopez. But you guys really don't care about that stuff. You want to know who I think is going to win the Super Bowl. So let's talk about that. Now, I want to go through each position and say who I think has an advantage at that position. Let's start with quarterback. This one, I'm going to go with KC. And it's because Mahomes can make a play at any time. And don't think Garoppolo's just going to be a game manager. They're probably going to have him throw a lot more than against Green Bay. Well, it's got to be a given. He only threw 8 times. But I think Garoppolo's going to make some plays in this Super Bowl. But Mahomes is just too good of a talent. Now, as far as running backs is concerned, this is San Francisco all the way. They have a 3-headed monster in Matt Breida, Tevin Coleman, and Raheem Munster. And even if Coleman is not going to be able to play in the Super Bowl, Munster rushed for over 200 yards against Green Bay in the championship game. So he is a threat when running the ball. Now, KC has a solid running game, but it's nothing compared to that 3-headed monster that the 49ers have. At wide receiver, this is KC all the way. You're talking Tyreek Hill, Nicole Hardman, Sammy Watkins, Byron Pringle. Guys that have made plays for them all year long. Now, to be fair, San Francisco does have a pretty solid receiving core themselves with Emmanuel Sanders and Deebo Samuel and a few others. However, with KC speed, it's going to be really tough to cover them. At tight end, this one's push. These are the 2 best tight ends in the league right now. These are matchup nightmares. Both of these guys are going to be featured in the game. I wouldn't be surprised if one of these guys ends up being the MVP because of how good they are. Travis Kelce and George Kittle are basically the #1 receivers on their respective rosters. Now, at offensive line, this may shock you, but this one's actually a push. I think KC's better in pass protection, but San Francisco was better in the run game. So it's a push because each of them has an advantage in one facet of an offense. At defensive line, San Francisco, this one's not even close. Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, DeForest Buckner, Dee Ford, Solomon Thomas. Too many guys that are really good on their team that have made plays all year long. In KC, yeah, they have Frank Clark and Chris Jones, but it's not the talent that San Francisco has. San Francisco has so many playmakers on the defensive line. It is going to be very tough to block them. Linebacker, this one's another push. I just couldn't pick either one of them. Both of them, they have, I'll say, solid linebacking cores. It's just really tough to pick which one has a better linebacking core. In the secondary, this is San Francisco all the way. It starts with Richard Sherman. He is still one of the best corners in the game. They have a good duo at safety. They have some solid corners right behind Sherman. Now, KC, they do have Tyrann Mathieu. However, I think you can take advantage of KC secondary more than you could San Francisco. It might be tough early on for Patrick Mahomes and the receivers because of how good San Francisco's secondary is. So that's why I'm going with San Francisco over KC when it comes to the secondary. Kicking game, this one is KC. San Francisco, they've had struggles with their kicking game all year long. But with KC, they have had consistency with their kicking game. And if it comes down to a field goal, I'd rather have KC than San Francisco. The punting game, this one's a push. Both teams have gotten consistency with their punters. Both of them can place it inside the 20. So, with the punting game, it's a push. With the return game, this one's KC, and it's because of Nicole Hardman. This guy, whenever he touches the ball, he is a threat. You do not want him returning a kickoff or a punt return because he could break it. He could get inside the opponent's territory, maybe even score. San Francisco, they're no slouch in the return game either, but it's nothing compared to what Hardman can do. He could really turn the game Okay, so you guys tallied it up. It's pretty close. This is really anybody's game. So, how does this Super Bowl go? Do we see it as a shootout? Do we see it as a defensive struggle? Do we see it somewhere in the middle? I see it as somewhere in the middle. I don't think it's going to be a shootout because of San Francisco defense. They just don't allow that. And I don't think it's going to be a defensive struggle because it's KC's offense. I think they're going to be able to score points. The question is, how many? Do both teams get in the 30s? I don't think so. But I don't think both teams get below 20. I say both teams get between 20 and 29 points. That's how I'm seeing the Super Bowl going. These teams are going to be able to score, but they're not going to score a whole lot. I think the offense is going to have their moments, and the defenses are going to have their moments as well. And I also think somebody is going to score on defense. I don't know why, but I feel like we're going to have a defensive touchdown in this game. And another prediction, we will have a passing touchdown. We haven't had one since Nick Foles 2 Super Bowls ago. If either of these teams go up by 2 scores, it is going to be very tough for the other to come back. Because with San Francisco, if they get down by 10, it is going to be very tough for this offense because it's just not built like that. And with KC, it's going to be very tough for them because San Francisco can run all over the place, and I don't know if KC's defense is going to be able to stop that. However, I think it's going to be a one-score game pretty much the whole game. I think we could see a little bit of back and forth, and I'm going to go with KC over San Francisco 27-23. I think KC gets a touchdown late in the game, and that's going to be the difference. So KC beats San Francisco to win the Super Bowl 27-23. Alright guys, that was my Super Bowl prediction. And let me know who you guys think is going to win the Super Bowl and what you think the score is. And I'll see you next time.